I will just join our partners to welcome you all to the Personal Democracy Forum Ukraine, which, as mentioned, is the first PDF to be held online. And I want to offer a personal reflection. We have always been starting online meetings during the pandemic with saying how beautiful it would be to meet in person and how regretful it is that we have to meet online. And one participant told me recently, shouldn't we count an ability to be online as our blessing? The fact that we can still connect, that we have the tools, the methodologies, the technologies to do so is something really amazing and something we should be grateful for. So I'm really grateful that we have this technology, that we could do the fourth PDF together. Also a great thank you to our partners, TechSoup Europe, Opora, ePaństwo Foundation, and Transparency for the vision, for the dedication, for the hard work in bringing us all together today. We live in an age of rapidly developing technologies and information-based societies, and this presents both challenges and opportunities of e-governance. I think that more than ever before, in the middle of this global pandemic, digital transformation has been decisive in allowing democracies to continue functioning effectively. Because at its best, the combination of technology and democracy can really strengthen the role of citizens. It can improve participation, it can make inclusion stronger. Technology can also reduce costs and make the risks of abuse of public resources smaller by increasing possibilities for accountability. E-governance practices can help citizens to exercise their rights to access public information and to participate in inclusive decision-making. They can support greater transparency and accountability of public institutions, and they can create a more vibrant dialogue with society. So there is a lot of positives that we can take from technologies. And as countries in the region continue their journeys towards more open and responsive systems of governance, leaders from both government and civil society need to be aware of the significant assistance that technology can offer to these efforts. We have seen in today's health crisis that the uptake of new technologies in multiple areas has really accelerated, and many state institutions started implementing unprecedented changes at unprecedented speed to adapt to the new reality. We have seen democratic institutions across the OSCE region, including parliaments, governments, courts, who have quickly adapted to the new ways of working that the pandemic dictated, who showed flexibility, adjusted their systems, and embraced new technologies. And Ukraine, in many aspects, is a relevant example of this wider regional trend. Many reforms in Ukraine have already included elements of digital transformation. And one example that I was very interested to learn about is that Verkhovna Rada has continued to function during the lockdown because of a dedicated e-parliament strategy that had ICT solutions instrumental to ensure that it could continue interaction between the parliament and citizens. But despite all these positive developments, we can expect some institutions to show resistance to the change that is necessary to introduce in a meaningful way these ICT solutions, just because it is so different from the traditional ways of working. At the end of the day, e-governance requires political will to change rules and procedures. And these changed rules and procedures should put citizens at the center of all reforms. Ukraine has a strong regulatory framework for the implementation of e-government and e-services, but it is really important to make sure that coherent digital transformation happens at all levels, and that self-governing regional bodies and smaller cities are not left behind. because they often end up on the wrong side of the digital divide. What's also important is that we need to recognize the many benefits, but we also have to remember the risks that digital technologies can pose to our democratic infrastructure. We have recently published a report on the OSCE Human Dimension commitments and state responses to COVID-19 pandemic. And in this report, we precisely showed risks that new technologies can bring. And we listed things such as negative effects on our right to privacy and other fundamental freedoms. This is particularly the case if the introduction of technologies is not transparent, if it is not voluntary at each step, reliable, free of commercial interest, and proportionate to their purpose, or if emergency measures are prolonged beyond a temporary period of urgent necessity. So certain measures that we have seen introduced to curb the spread of COVID-19 created security and data privacy risks, and we consider these security and data privacy risks at times quite serious, especially for people in vulnerable situations and people in marginalized groups. And so it is really important to make sure that when we embrace new technologies, we do not let progress on human rights slip back. So let's use the 2 next days to discuss both the opportunities and challenges that the digital transformation can bring to our democracies. I'm sure there will be many inspiring examples, and we will have a possibility to assess what we can do and what we can do more and better to make sure that democracy in Ukraine and in the broader region can fully benefit from the ongoing introduction and strengthening of new technology use, while making sure that we are not sacrificing any of our hard-won rights. And we at ODIHR, of course, are continued to be committed to support your important efforts in this direction. Thank you very much.